Hey drummers, Gary Williams back, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to practice. Many of us have just gone into the drum room and just started bashing and having a grand time, playing whatever chop was just in our mind as we walked into the drum room. And that's really a great thing to do for good recreation, and actually it's pretty helpful to us in many instances. But I've come up with a system of how to practice, to organize your practice routine so that you can plan the work and then simply work the plan to become a much better drummer. There are 6 areas of development. The first area is listening. The second area is technique. The third area is coordination. The fourth area is reading. The fifth area is the actual practice area, how to organize this. And then the sixth area is playing. So in the first area, of course, something about music drew us to the drums. We heard the drums. We were just drawn to playing them. So we try to find out how. We get some sticks, we get a drum, we listen, and we just play along. And I think that's the very best way to get started with anything. We learn to talk before we learn to read, just by listening and imitating the sounds around us. I think this is the purest form of learning to begin with. Before you get into having to read music or study specific techniques, I think you should just go for it and let your intuition be your guide to begin with. After that, then you might want to start thinking more about how do these drummers sound so good, which usually leads to technique. What kind of technical skill levels do they practice? Rudiments, finger control strokes, there's lots of things. So the next area is technique. So you want to devote, I think, some practice time to working on chops. Rudiments, there's some great educational videos out there that teach you all about techniques, tons of videos. So a bit of practice time to that would be good. The next area is the coordination. So when you're trying to get better at the drum set, certainly it's a good idea to spend some time working through some coordination method books. And there are all kinds of different styles of music, and each style requires that you learn to coordinate your body in a different way. So it certainly takes a very long time to build up coordination. That's the most challenging component of playing the drum set, is having four-way independence, as people describe it. It's probably more accurately called interdependence. But coordination works, and that's definitely something that we have to work on the most. That's the hardest thing to do. The next thing is reading. I think it's very, very important that we devote a certain amount of time to learning to become literate musicians. You know how to read and write so that you can teach yourself things, you can communicate more effectively, and certainly way quicker. So if you have a group of musicians that know how to read music, and they get together, you can put a chart in front of the band and you can make a great sound right out of the gate. If you only know how to play by ear, then you have to spend more time listening to the track, and that's not going to get you as far as fast. So reading is an important thing to devote some of your practice time to. So the next area, practicing. How do we organize this? Well, I think it's best to plan a specific time of day to practice. So that is practice time. You have dinner time. You may have various things that occur on a regular scheduled time basis. Why not carve out a time for drum time of the day? And when I practiced, I always organized my routine into various subject matters. And I would usually start with rudiments. I think technique exercises is a great place to start because it gets your hands warmed up. Usually you're freshest when you go into the practice room. It's not always the most fun, so if you go in there and start bashing, you're probably not going to want to spend time on this boring technique stuff. So get out of the gate and start it. Dinner first, dessert last. You know how that works. So I did the technique exercises for a certain amount of time, depended upon how long or short my practice time was, but I tried to spend a percentage of my practice time on technique. The next thing I would do is I'd work on reading out of a snare drum book. Verbally counting the rhythms out loud, usually before I would play them is what I recommend, and then as you play them. So this way you can coordinate your voice. If you can communicate to your hands by speaking the language of the rhythm, you'll play what you say. So it's a good idea to learn to count out loud. And again, like I said, if you know how to read, you can learn a whole lot more things, and you can actually work with other reading musicians. Lots more opportunity for you as a reading musician. Then I would spend some time hitting the books on the drum kit, working on coordination exercises, whether it was Jim Chapin's Advanced Techniques for the Modern Drummer or Gary Chester's New Breed, just to mention a couple of excellent books. There are many books to go through depending upon how many different styles of music you want to learn. And of course, for those of you that have done this a little while, you know that different styles of music require different levels of coordination skills. You're going to play rock drums way differently than jazz drums, so it's important to make sure that you get the resources that teach you how to coordinate your body in the different styles of music that you will be playing. So that I spent the most amount of time on because coordination is definitely the most difficult thing to develop because you got to put everything together, all the limbs on all the different parts, hands on cymbals, hands on drums, it's all over the place. So coordination exercises is what I spent the most amount of time on. So after I did this, then at the end of those sections, I would reserve time to play to music. Sometimes I just play along with CDs. Recordings with other drum parts. Other times I'd be working out of a book that had play-along tracks, which there's many more of those today, and I think those are excellent training ground to bring these professional level musicians into your practice environment. Play along while reading the charts. Record yourself. Can't stress the importance of recording yourself, whether it's playing along with tracks, whether it's working on technique exercises. And you don't have to get crazy about this, but it'd be a good idea to check in with the video camera once in a while. It's our musical mirror. We really need to see what's going on from the outside. Most people who've done this at least once realize that the video recording is different than what you thought was going on when you were playing. So if you add videotaping to your lessons, you're going to speed up your growth way faster than you ever could if you never looked in the mirror. And I think we understand the importance of looking good and, more importantly, sounding good. So the video camera captures the image, and if you watch it, you will remember it much better than if you just listen to it. I think we all know that if we've ever been to a concert, we can remember certain events of that concert because we videotaped it with our eyes and ears simultaneously. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you get all these things put together, you're going to be a player. You're going to get out there and you're going to start getting some things happening in the scene because you're covering all the areas. And my philosophy, which is proven to work to this day, is if you become an expert musician, a musical drummer, you're going to be the drummer that people want to have you in their band. So good luck to you. I hope this has been helpful. And if you'd like more information, you can visit my educational website, www.drumsetartistry.com, or my performance website, www.garywilliams, that's Garey, Williams.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.